What if the biggest reason people fail is because they blame everyone except themselves? Most people blame their boss, their team, the economy, bad luck. But US Navy SEALs operate differently. In the middle of chaos, pressure, and life or death missions, they follow one powerful principle: extreme ownership. And according to former Navy SEAL commanders Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, this mindset can transform businesses, teams, relationships, and even your personal life. In today's video, we'll break down the key lessons from the best-selling book Extreme Ownership: How US Navy SEALs Lead and Win, and discover how elite military leadership principles can help you succeed in everyday life. Let's begin. What is extreme ownership? Extreme ownership means taking full responsibility for everything within your world. Not partial responsibility, not excuses, not blame, full ownership. The authors explain that leaders must own mistakes, failures, team, performance, communication problems, poor planning, bad execution, even when other people contribute to the problem. That sounds harsh, but it's incredibly powerful. Because the moment you stop blaming others, you gain control. SEAL teams understand that excuses never solve problems. Ownership does. The authors share combat stories from Iraq where small leadership failures created deadly consequences. And instead of blaming subordinates, weather conditions, or bad luck, great leaders asked, "What could I have done better?" That mindset changes everything. In business, students, sports, or family life, the same principle applies. When you own problems completely, you become capable of fixing them. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders. One of the most famous lessons from the book is this: there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. The authors describe a SEAL training exercise where one team kept losing repeatedly. Its leader blamed weak teammates, poor communication, lack of skill. Then instructors switched leaders between teams. Suddenly, the bad team started winning. Why? Because leadership changed. Great leaders build trust, communicate clearly, stay calm under pressure, motivate people, create discipline, solve problems quickly. Weak leadership creates confusion. Strong leadership creates results. This lesson applies everywhere. If a classroom is failing, if a business is struggling, if a project keeps collapsing, leadership is usually the root issue. The best leaders never say, "My team failed me." They ask, "How did I fail my team?" That question creates growth. Check your ego. Another major lesson is that ego destroys leadership. Ego makes people ignore feedback, refuse help, defend mistakes, compete internally, avoid responsibility. In combat situations, ego can become deadly. But even in normal life, ego damages relationships, businesses, and teamwork. The authors explain that leaders must stay humble enough to listen, learn, adapt, admit mistakes, put the mission first. True leaders care more about results than looking smart. Sometimes the best idea comes from the youngest person in the room. Strong leaders are confident, but they are never arrogant. And this is important. Confidence says, "I can learn." Ego says, "I already know everything." One creates growth, the other creates failure. Simple leadership wins. SEAL teams operate in extremely dangerous environments. And during chaos, complicated plans fail. That's why the authors emphasize simplicity. Simple plans, simple communication, simple instructions. If people are confused, execution collapses. Great leaders simplify everything. In business, this means clear goals, clear deadlines, clear expectations, clear communication. Confused teams move slowly. Focused teams move fast. The authors explain that every team member must understand the mission, their role, the reason behind the mission. When people understand why something matters, they perform with greater energy and commitment. Complexity creates hesitation. Simplicity creates action. Prioritize and execute. In stressful situations, multiple problems happen at once. Most people panic. Elite leaders do something different. They prioritize. The authors teach a simple process. Relax, assess the situation, identify the biggest problem, solve it, move to the next issue. This principle is called prioritize and execute. Trying to solve everything at once usually creates more chaos. The best leaders stay calm under pressure. This lesson is incredibly practical. When life feels overwhelming, don't panic, don't freeze, don't overthink. Focus on the next most important step. Small controlled actions create momentum. Whether you're managing a business, studying for exams, or handling personal challenges, this mindset keeps you effective. Discipline equals freedom. One of Jocko Willink's most famous ideas is, discipline equals freedom. At first, that sounds strange. Most people think discipline limits freedom, but the authors argue the opposite. Discipline creates better health, better finances, better productivity, better confidence, better opportunities. When you build discipline, you stop depending on motivation. Motivation changes daily. Discipline stays consistent. SEAL teams survive because of discipline. They train repeatedly until actions become automatic. And in everyday life, disciplined people often achieve more because they continue working when others quit. Small habits create massive long-term results. Wake up early, exercise, plan your day, stay consistent. Success rarely comes from one giant moment. It usually comes from disciplined actions repeated over time. Lead up and down the chain of command. A powerful idea in the book is that leadership works in every direction, not just from the top down. Great leaders lead their team, support their boss, train junior members, communicate across departments instead of complaining that management doesn't understand problems. Effective leaders explain solutions clearly. The authors stress that communication is always the leader's responsibility. If people don't understand instructions, leaders must communicate better. This lesson destroys victim thinking. Instead of saying, "They don't get it," ask, "Did I explain it clearly enough?" That mindset creates stronger teams and better relationships. Extreme Ownership is more than a leadership book. It's a mindset. A mindset that says, stop blaming, start leading, take responsibility, stay disciplined, communicate clearly, control your ego, focus on solutions. The biggest lesson from this book is simple. You may not control everything that happens to you, but you can always control your response. And that responsibility gives you power. Because leaders are not people who make excuses. Leaders are people who take ownership. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. What's one area of your life where you can take more ownership? Thanks for watching.